back. Taking a little bit of time out at the moment, so there hasn't been any videos, content from me for probably nearly a month or so now, but that's mainly due to because I've had a bit of the dreaded cold and it's just been lingering on, and as soon as I've got to the end of one, another one's come along and I've had another one again. But feeling a bit better now, not 100%, but I do feel like doing some videos, bring you up to speed with a couple of things, and hopefully I'm going to be recording a couple of videos right now today before I go into work. And the first one that I want to cover is the should we call it the Coleco VGS conspiracy. I've covered this before, albeit briefly, and this time round, you know, I just want to give my opinions of the system, my expectations from it, and everything that's happened and has gone along with it. I've said before as well that, you know, I originally backed the Retro VGS. Personally, I thought it was going to be a fantastic system. You know, it's going to be a great throwback system that everyone, you know, is getting hyped about, excited about, and a lot of the time the word niche market was used, and I know what niche market means, but I just don't like the word, because to me it just makes it feel like, you know, only 100 people are going to buy into something, you know, and potentially there was going to be a good few thousand people. You know, we were looking at double figures, you know, hopefully looking 10,000 plus that would have bought into it. But, you know, especially if they'd secured the financial backing and the system was going to be released so that people could buy it when they want, a bit like how they've done with the Retron 5, and I do believe that it would have done a hell of a lot better than even the Retron 5. So with the Retro VGS as it was, not only did I back the system, and I was backing the system because of the nostalgia, the throwback, but I was also backing Mike Kennedy as a person. He seemed really honest, really genuine, really passionate. You know, he wanted to get, he saw a gap in the market where, you know, especially it appealed to me because I always felt like current generation systems weren't really a home for these retro inspired games and things like that. So I think, you know, he had a foundation, he had something there with that. You know, it's really exciting to see some of these games we're talking about coming back on cartridge with a clamshell box, you know, a proper plastic one, not a cardboard one like Nintendo always did, you know, like the Mega Drive Genesis did with the plastic with the plastic clamshell, with instructions, with a really lovely box art piece as well, for the label for the front of it. So he had my financial backing for the Retro VGS. I was really looking forward to it, and the games that were announced look fantastic. The idea of having adapters for the older style cartridge systems that, you know, would allow us to play our cartridges on it. So basically, initially, you know, we were having a Retron 5 in a way that could play newer games, is essentially what we're talking here. And, you know, if only 20 games came out for it, but we had the cartridge adapters, I would have been happy with that. You know, there's many systems that flopped and only released a few games for, and they become highly sought after systems and highly collectible, and, you know, people want to collect them, people still want to play them, people still want to get every game for that system. But, you know, if it meant that I could have essentially a Retron 5 with 20 brand new games, well, okay, not brand new, but 20 new cartridge games that, you know, even if they've already been pre-released on the PS4, the Wii U, or whatever, you know, all these indie games, it would have been lovely. I would have been really happy with that. I would have been pleased. I would have been able to, rather than getting the Retron 5, I would have been able to use the Retro VGS and upscale to modern TVs, because these CRTVs, like I said before, are not going to be around forever. Truth is, they weren't ready to kickstart this with Indiegogo. This was not ready at all. This was probably at the very least a year away from being ready to go to Kickstarter. And of course, the price kept creeping up. Mike had promised us low cost price, and it was adamant that, you know, this $150 to start with was going to be that sort of price, which, you know, $150 in the UK is probably about £120, something like that, which isn't a hell of a lot. And, you know, that is competing with the Retron 5. So yeah, as I say, you know, my money was there in, yeah, I was willing to back the campaign, I was willing to back Mike as a person. So of course Retro VGS failed, but at what point did Mike decide that honesty and transparency, because it didn't work, is now going to relaunch it as a Coleco Chameleon and then just lie to everyone and deceive everyone? How does that make sense? You know, they should have just left the Retro VGS alone for a while, just continued to work with it and just said, you know, it's not ready for market, we're going to go away, we're going to come back bigger and better, like they did apparently for the Coleco Chameleon. But they could have just, you know, given it, even if it took a year or so, and they just kept working at it, and we just had this great system. Because I honestly do believe that it was going to be, you know, I still believe it could have been a fantastic system, and, you know, there is a market for it, there's people that did want it, and it could have been absolutely brilliant. And they should have just taken more time and just been honest and just said, look, you know, John Carlson's left now, and we haven't got an engineer anymore, so we're going to get back to basics, still continue to work on it in the background, try and get a new team, a new solid team back together, and, you know, continue to try and provide you with a really fantastic, great throwback system, instead of going on to interviews then and basically trying to blame John Carlson for everything that went wrong with the Retro VGS, which, you know, who's he going to blame next to the failings of the Coleco Chameleon? Is it going to be Steve White's fault now, is it? Obviously, from the footage of the New York Tie Fair, he had Eli from Pico Interactive come over and put one of his boards, one of his game boards, into the Coleco Chameleon prototype, which obviously became a huge, massive scandal. But, you know, I can't remember who said it before, but they said that, you know, Eli himself has a lot to answer for, and I completely agree, because you don't just come along and stick your board into, you know, this prototype without there, and he would have known that it was a SNES prototype, without there being an adapter attached to the Coleco Chameleon. You know, he would have known that it is not what it's supposed to be, that, you know, that we are being lied to. So Eli, you do have some explaining to do yourself. You knew that you was putting a SNES board into, you know, into this prototype, this machine, and unless it had an adapter, there's no way that it could have worked. I do believe strongly that the idea in general, not anything to do with Mike Kennedy and Retro VGS Interactive, which, by the way, as I found out from today, before filming this actually, is now the Retro VGS Incorporated Facebook page has been taken down. So at the moment it seems like they're no more, it's completely disappeared. That might be the last of it for the VGS Coleco Chameleon. And of course, the Coleco brand has been pulled from the system too. I don't believe that the idea that they've had is going to go away. that someone else is going to pick this up now, someone else is going to do a hell of a better job, have a working prototype, a great system, because as I say, I do believe there is a demand for it and there's people that are willing to put money into it and they want to enjoy it. So I fully expect in the future to see another cartridge based system that can run homebrew and indie games on a cartridge. I think, you know, they've at least, if anything, laid the foundations down for someone else to pick up and continue where they failed.